All right, friends, today we're talking about the best areas to live in on Florida's Space Coast, no matter what your budget is. If you've ever wondered where you get the most value, the best lifestyle, and the right fit for your family, this is the episode for you. Let's dive in. I'm here today with Jodie Bizarro from Waterman Real Estate. Welcome, Jodie.
Thank you very much.
We are excited to have you on this podcast, mainly because nobody knows Brevard better than Jodie. I mean, you've been in this area for over 30 years?
Yes.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about you. I like to hear everyone's origin story.
Well, I moved here from California over in 1994. So I came here and just wanted to see what Florida would be like. I had my grandmother living here and my sister was here. So I moved over here and I haven't ever wanted to leave.
Yeah. Don't look back. It's hard to come to Brevard, see what we have to offer, and then ever try and leave.
Yes.
I think everybody that's from this area leaves for a little bit, if you grew up here like me, because we called it Melbourne growing up. And then they get somewhere else and go, wait, I had the ocean, I had the river, I had everything I was looking for, and they boomerang right back.
And you don't miss what you have until it's gone, right?
Exactly. Well, let's dive into it. One of the first questions I wanted to ask you about today was the fact that you have lived on Brevard Space Coast for over 30 years. So how have you seen these different areas in Brevard evolve and grow?
So when I moved here, I've been in Palm Bay, Melbourne. I've actually been all over Brevard. Palm Bay, I remember just driving through Palm Bay when I first got here, and there was dirt roads everywhere. I remember Emerson, not, past Jupiter Boulevard, there was nothing. Yeah. There was no Heritage Parkway. It was a lot of land. Same thing with Viera. You look at Viera today, and there's communities everywhere where there was cows before. So it's quite the difference. But overall, Brevard is just expanding everywhere. When you start driving through the different communities and counties, you just see just all of the development is here in Brevard County right now.
Yeah.
You'll see it from Titusville all the way to Sebastian. So it's growing rapidly.
It's pretty wild to see what it's evolved into for sure.
Yes.
So when someone comes to this area and wants to live in Brevard, where do you usually start the conversation?
I try to understand their specific needs. What are they looking for? Where do they need to be? If they're working up, somewhere in the Space Center area, I want to try to get them closer to that area. But the ultimate thing is going to be budget, right? It's, the pricing that they're going to be needing. Where are they going to get more house for their dollar? So sometimes I will bring them to Palm Bay. Sometimes we'll end up in Melbourne, and sometimes we'll even go all the way to Merritt Island or Titusville, just depending on what works for them.
Sure. Well, what factors should someone consider besides price when they're moving into the area?
Their needs, right? So the neighborhood dynamics, the amenities that are around there. There's so many things that you take into consideration. Like I could probably do a whole show just on that. But we'll say where do you shop? And I'm going to give you a perfect example. Last year I was working with a lady and she had an allergy. And she was required to shop at very specific stores. So when we went house hunting for her, we narrowed down all the health food stores that she hit every day. And she worked for Harris. She was like, Jodie, this is where I want to go. I want my drive home to be a straight shot. I want to be able to hit the grocery stores on the way there. So knowing the area and then targeting the communities that she would fit in or want to be in, along with all of the stores that were around that she needed. So it was very specific targeting for that area just because she knew what she needed for her to have around her.
I love that. Starting out with the client's needs first and then backing into the area that they need to be in.
Oh, big time.
That's awesome. So for someone that's maybe moving into the area with a starter home budget, where would you suggest or what area should they be looking at?
I would say all of Brevard has different areas that are affordable. So you could start in Titusville. Palm Bay is rapidly growing. There's a lot of affordability there. You get a lot more home for your dollar in Palm Bay is my opinion. But I think people could agree that Palm Bay is the most growing rapid area right now for your dollar. And I would say that it just really depends on, again, you want to bring them to a place that's going to be budget friendly for them, but you want to keep all of the other key factors in there. Is it going to take them an hour out of their way every day? Are their schools going to, be in that area? So there's so many things that play into that decision for buyers.
Certainly. Now, if somebody had a mid-range budget, mid to higher range budget, is there any area that you would start off in for them?
I would say that mid-range, I would start in maybe West Melbourne area. Typically, people know whether they want to live in an HOA community or not. So that's pretty much the first start, right, of that conversation is, what are we looking for? 90% of your buyers are going to kind of have some idea of what they're looking for. They're going to know whether they want to be in an HOA, and some don't know if they want to be in an HOA or not. And so you start showing them different areas, different things, and it's not even just taking them through the houses. It's just making them aware of the different areas so that they can even drive by themselves, give them the opportunity to make that decision for themselves as well. I want to guide, right? I don't want to tell you this is where you need to buy. I want to guide and give you the best areas and let you be the one that decides based on, the best options for your family. Family is a big key in that decision, right?
Yeah.
If you have kids, if you have elderly parents, all of those things go into that process.
As a mom myself, I can tell you that is my first priority.
Is where the school is.
Where the school is, to make sure that I can drop them off and get to work in time and do all the mom things, before you put on your business hat.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about long-term value. So if you have somebody that's moving into the area that wants to be here for a significant period of time, what area would you say has the best long-term value?
And I would actually say that long-term value, in my opinion, is the water. It's the beach. It's Melbourne Beach area. It's a coastal living lifestyle. It's relaxed. It's where the fishing, the surfing, that's the lifestyle that people see. It's also got, investment opportunity. And, there's so many things having in that Melbourne Beach area. I do see that that is your area for long-term value.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's definitely a different lifestyle. Everyone that's from here says over the bridge.
Yes.
It's
true.
It's a different part of Brevard County.
It is. And it's a quick drive to it if you're not over that bridge, right? So being in Palm Bay, you still have the ability to travel to the beach within a 25-minute drive. Yeah. So that makes it nice.
Is there a certain part of Brevard that you think has the most house for your money, or the most land for your money?
I would say Palm Bay is giving the value right there. Titusville has some value there too, with more land and better values on money in Titusville. But I would say Palm Bay is also one of those that's growing and giving you a lot more value for what you get.
Brevard County has a lot of different types of lifestyle that it takes care of in such a long county, but a condensed area. So let's talk a little bit about retirees or people that are downsizing a little bit. Is there any particular part of Brevard that you think is best for retirees or people that are wanting to downsize?
So one of the things that, and I've been a huge person in this community, is Barefoot Bay. I do a lot of sales in Barefoot Bay. I see a lot of people that come here or come to me that are looking to downsize, retire. They're looking for the condos, the manufactured homes that are in Barefoot Bay, or that community, the established community. They want that activity. And I also see where they want more of the, I've got quite a few clients who have downsized from a second floor and they still want that house. So they just go into a single story family home, 14 to 1,600 square feet. They're used to 2,000 or larger. So that to me is considered downsizing. And I have put a lot of people into smaller single family homes that are just retired, but they still want that space and the ability to have their own yard. So.
And what about the working people, the ones that are working with SpaceX or have those space industry jobs?
Definitely your Merritt Island, Melbourne, West Melbourne even, I would say Titusville, anything Rockledge area, all of those areas surrounding that area, everybody's willing to do somewhat of a commute, right? It's just how much of a commute are you willing to do? So I actually had 2 clients that I sold to last year. Both works for the Space Center, both bought in Palm Bay. I asked one of the guys, I said, why did you choose Palm Bay? He said, I kind of liked that it wasn't so crowded. It gave him the more rural feeling, and he appreciated that. So again, it goes back to what works best for the client, what is their desires, and what can we give them that is going to meet most of the boxes on their want list, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Would you say that there's any areas in Brevard County that over the last 10 to 15 years have changed or evolved the most?
Evolved the most. There are quite a few. When you think about it, there's I just think about even the FIT area in Melbourne. It's huge. It's you've got people flying all over the country to come to school right here in Melbourne, and I've seen that area surrounding have quite a turnaround since I've moved here. It's actually cleaned up, and they're building new buildings, and they're making it a little bit nicer of a setup for the students that are coming here to go to school. So it is a nice area.
Speaking of, areas changing and growth, is there a certain area where you see more growth happening or the most growth happening within the next couple of years?
Palm Bay.
Palm Bay.
Yeah, I see Palm Bay. You can already see it if you're on the south side of Palm Bay and you're heading towards the Sebastian area. You can see where that connection is coming, Heritage Parkway. It's all going to blend eventually. I see us continuing to move south with homes. You see what's going up for sale. You see where the new construction homes are being built. And eventually, they're putting grocery stores out there. There's a brand new Publix out there all the way down Babcock. It's, that the growth is here and it's going to keep coming. Yeah. And I know some people say that they're not, thrilled about the growth, but it is a necessity.
It certainly is a necessity,
Yes.
and we've been an underrated area for a very long time. I think we're finally just coming up to where the rest of the country has been for a while.
Right. No, I agree completely.
How would you help someone that is trying to balance location versus price when making their decision? Maybe their price point is within like first-time home buyer or mid-range level price point, but they're wanting that location that's beachside that might be a little bit more expensive. How would you guide that?
I think they need to consider what their lifestyle is and where they need to be, and it's all about budgeting. There's so many key factors that go into that, right? It's budget, it's if you have kids, if you don't have kids, if you're active, enthusiast of the water lifestyle, all of those key factors go in. And when I get with my clients and we sit down for the first time or we sit on that phone call, I want to be a sponge. I want you to tell me everything I need to know. And I have a list so that I can go back and I can say, let me narrow this down so we're not looking at 65 homes over the next 30 days. Maybe we're looking at 10, and out of that 10, we found the perfect 3 that now it's up to you to narrow down. So that's kind of how I want my buyers to kind of lead the way in what they want. Yeah. In the same aspect of, I don't want to show you a $500,000 home if you can only afford $350,000, right? Mm-hmm. So I really want to narrow down the best properties to show my clients every time.
I love that. Doing an analysis of your buyer before starting, and you making the decision on telling them where they should go, because, someone sold against their will is of the same opinion still, right?
Yes.
So I love the beach. I will visit it, but I don't like the sand very much. Right. But if you take me too far away from a golf course, I'm not going to like it.
Exactly.
So I love that you do that with your clients.
100%.
And I hate to talk about the negative side of things, but I wouldn't be doing our viewership, or I would be doing our viewership a disservice if I didn't talk about the mistakes that people make. What do you think is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when choosing a neighborhood?
Solely focusing on the price. There's so many things. I keep saying that, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, but there's so many factors that go into it. And, just to give you an example, I had a client, and I'm not going to tell them where they have to be or where they should go, ever. Excuse me. But she kept saying, I really like the house, but I don't like the neighborhood. And I said to her, if you don't like the neighborhood, the house is never going to make you fall in love with the neighborhood. So you need to really do your research, figure out where it is you want to be. I showed her some great neighborhoods. She ended up settling in one, and she loves it. And we've talked, and we're still friends. and she was really happy that I didn't just let her go in to the first one and put that offer in without really understanding where she was coming from. And that's huge. If your buyers buy a house from you and 2 years later they hate you as an agent because you didn't give them as much information as you could have, you're never going to get their return business, nor are they going to remember you when it's time to refer out. So it's really important to focus on really what their needs are before you even start showing anything.
That's great advice. Yeah, if you don't like them when you're dating, you're not going to love them when you're married.
True.
So how early should buyers start exploring areas before they're ready to move?
I would say just exploring, maybe not even getting pre-qualified, right? But just exploring the areas, at least 6 to 12 months is going to give you a really good idea. And when I say that, I say drive through the area, right? Go in the morning, go in the evening, really understand what area you're attracting yourself to and kind of understand, okay, start mapping out like how long it would take you to get to work, how long, from the grocery store, are your kids in sporting events. Like there's so many things that you would want to kind of use to make that decision. But I always bring those up. If I hear people saying, I'm going to buy in this area, I start picking the questions, right? Like, well, what do you guys do for fun on the weekends? Where do you go grocery shopping? And it starts making people think. And it starts making people think of things that they didn't really think that they needed to think about. Yeah. And those are the most important, because when you get into a house, you can't just sell it the next week because you decided it wasn't in the right location.
Exactly.
So it's really something that you want to, make sure that they're aware of that decision before they just jump in and pick a house.
Gotcha. I have one more question for you before we finish it out. Is there ever a scenario where you tell people that it's better to go for new build or new construction versus a home that's already on the market?
I show them the pros and the cons of everything. So to give you an example, I just had a buyer this recent, like in November they closed. So it was just a recent closing. And when we met, we sat down, we did the whole checklist. I knew his wife or fiance at the time, because they got married on Christmas, his fiance didn't care about anything, but she wanted a nice kitchen. That meant the nice cabinets, the nice countertops, all of that.
Those soft closed drawers.
Yes, the counter.
I know that kitchen very well.
So that was all that her focus was. He was the number guy. He was everything else. And I had said to them, we kept looking at 1980s, 1979. We were in a different area, and I said to them, why haven't you tried looking at any new construction homes? And his first answer was, we wouldn't qualify. And I loved hearing that.
Yes.
Because I said, watch, I bet you will. And he did. And they qualified so easily. And I was able to get them so much in that deal that he was like, Jodie, if we wouldn't have met you, we would have been buying a house that we would have probably resented in the next 5 years. And since they have closed on that house, I've gotten 3 referrals from them because they want to send me everybody, because I didn't just let them make the first offer on the first house that they saw. I wanted to really just kind of understand and learn who they were, right? And once I kind of understood that, it was easy for me to say there's no reason that you couldn't qualify for new construction. You already got pre-qualified for an existing home, so there's your sign, right?
Yeah.
There's your answer, but put him with the lender. He got a qualified immediately, and they closed 30 days later.
That's
so
fantastic.
It was awesome. It really was. And I got invited to their wedding on Christmas, and those are the kind of relationships, because this, at the end of the day, best price, all of the things that we've discussed, without that relationship aspect, it's nothing, right?
Right.
So
right.
I pride that on my relationship, is the biggest part of this for me.
I love that. And it's actually the reoccurring theme of all the questions that we've asked today.
Yes.
It always kind of went back to how you're understanding your client first before telling them what neighborhood, what price point, or what they can or can't do. So thank you for that.
No problem.
So for those of you that watched the podcast today and tuned in and found value in it, please share with anybody that you think might benefit from this podcast as well. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.